$119.8 million. That's the federal court judgment against the man who owned this dam. But here's what makes this case extraordinary. When his own dam safety engineer begged him to pay attention to the crumbling structure, he said, and this is a verified quote from court documents, "I'm not in the hydro business. I'm in the money-making business." This is collapse report. We follow the money. And the money trail on this one leads to a Las Vegas architect. A tax shelter scheme. 14 years of ignored federal warnings. And property owners now paying $200 million for someone else's negligence. In 2006, Lee Mueller, a Las Vegas-based architect and heir to the William D. Boyce fortune, had a problem. He owed $600,000 to the IRS. His solution? Buy 4 aging hydroelectric dams in rural Michigan for $4.8 million. The dams came with federal licenses and a modest income stream. But more importantly for Mueller, they came with tax benefits. This wasn't an infrastructure investment. It was a financial maneuver. Mueller and his cousin Michel Devenas made the purchase through family trusts originally established by the founder of the Boy Scouts of America. Here's the official source. Michigan Attorney General's Office, May 2023. Frank Christie was Boyce Hydro's dam safety engineer and chief operator. According to his testimony, he tried to convince Mueller to focus on dam safety. Christie told Mueller, quote, "You're in the hydro business now, you gotta pay attention." Mueller's response, verified in court filings. "I'm not in the hydro business, I'm in the money-making business." That quote would become Exhibit A in understanding why this dam failed. But Mueller's attitude wasn't just talk. For 14 years, federal regulators documented a pattern of negligence so severe they used language rarely seen in government reports. In one 2017 order, the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission called his behavior, and I'm quoting directly, appalling. They wrote that Mueller showed a pattern of delay and indifference to the potential consequences. The dam could only pass 50% of a probable maximum flood. Regulators knew it. Mueller knew it. And in 2010, something happened that would later prove catastrophic. In 2010, Boyce Hydro held an internal meeting. Mueller, Christie, and a consultant named Steve Doré gathered to discuss a disturbing finding. They determined that the east embankment of Edenville Dam might fail if lake levels rose too high. They made preliminary plans to fix it. They never followed through. And critically, they never disclosed this known defect to federal or state regulators. For 10 years that embankment sat there. A ticking time bomb that only insiders knew about. When the dam finally failed in May 2020, it was that exact section, the east embankment, that gave way. By 2017, Frank Christie had enough. According to court documents, he resigned in protest because Mueller routinely neglected basic dam safety priorities. The breaking point? Boyce Hydro diverted staff and equipment to dig a pond at another location, instead of repairing a major safety defect inside Sanford Dam. Mueller was focused on side projects, a music festival, marina development, a sawmill purchase, and a residential neighborhood development. Everything except maintaining the aging infrastructure that held back billions of gallons of water. September 10th, 2018. FERC did something rare. They revoked Boyce Hydro's federal license to operate Edenville Dam. The violations were extensive. Failure to increase spillway capacity, unauthorized repairs, inadequate safety plans, failure to allow public access. But revoking a federal license doesn't automatically make a dam disappear. The state of Michigan's Department of Environment, Great Lakes and Energy took over regulatory authority. And that handoff would later become central to a class action lawsuit against the state itself. May 18th, 2020. 6 to 8 inches of rain fell across mid-Michigan in 48 hours. Wixom Lake rose 5.5 feet above normal. At 12:32 a.m. on May 19th, the dam operator activated the emergency action plan and ordered evacuations for imminent dam failure. 17 hours later at 5:46 p.m., the east embankment, the same section flagged in that 2010 internal meeting, gave way. 900 feet of the dam breached. Billions of gallons of water cascaded downstream. Overwhelming Sanford Dam 2 hours later. 10,000 people evacuated, and miraculously, due to early warnings, 0 fatalities. November 27th, 2023, U.S. District Judge Paul Maloney issued a default judgment against Lee Mueller. The breakdown: $90 million for freshwater mussel ecosystem destruction. Nearly 3 million mussels perished, including endangered species. $21 million for Michigan fisheries damage. $8.8 million for Environmental Protection Act violations. Total $119,825,000. Mueller didn't even show up to contest it. February 9th, 2024. Mueller tried to escape through bankruptcy court in Nevada. The judge denied him. The ruling was scathing. Judge August Landis wrote that Mueller's effort smacked of bad faith. He called it a fairly transparent attempt to manipulate the law. Mueller had falsely claimed his debt to Michigan was unknown, despite knowing it exceeded eligibility thresholds. This was the second federal court to find Mueller acting in bad faith. The man who said he was in the money-making business discovered that courts have long memories. But here's where the financial story gets personal for thousands of Michigan families. In February 2024, Midland and Gladwin counties approved a $200 million special property assessment. 8,000 property owners in the Ford Lakes district now face bills to repair the dams that Mueller let crumble. Some face assessments exceeding $33,000. The state provided $200 million in matching grants, reducing the burden by roughly half. But property owners are still paying millions for infrastructure failures caused by an out-of-state owner who treated their lakes as a tax write-off. Mueller isn't the only one facing liability. A class action lawsuit, Krieger versus Department of Environment, Great Lakes, and Energy, alleges that Michigan state agencies knew the dam lacked capacity to handle significant floods and failed to act. The plaintiffs point to a troubling timeline. In April 2020, just weeks before the failure, the state authorized raising Wixom Lake water levels. They also rejected Boyce Hydro's 2019 request to draw down the lake. The case has been certified for 3 classes: real property, personal property, and business owners. Trial date: January 12th, 2026. This case matters beyond Michigan because it exposes a nationwide pattern. According to the American Society of Civil Engineers, there are over 91,000 dams in America. The Association of State Dam Safety Officials estimates 15,800 are classified as high hazard, meaning failure would likely cause loss of life. Average age of US dams, 57 years. Edenville was built in 1924, 96 years old when it failed. The independent forensic team concluded this failure was foreseeable and preventable. How many other dam owners are making the same cost-benefit calculation Mueller made? How many are saying, I'm in the money business, not the safety business? Let's summarize the financial crime scene. Lee Mueller bought 4 dams for $4.8 million to save $600,000 in taxes. He ignored 14 years of federal warnings. His dam safety engineer resigned in protest. FEMA revoked his license. The dam failed. Environmental damages, $119.8 million. Federal penalty, $15 million. Property owner assessment, $200 million. Bankruptcy attempt, denied as bad faith. Pending class action against the state. Potentially hundreds of millions more. And the January 2026 trial may determine whether taxpayers across Michigan share liability for a failure that official reports called foreseeable and preventable. This is why we investigate the economics of infrastructure failure. Because every collapse has a financial motive. Every disaster has someone who calculated that safety wasn't worth the cost. We follow the money, official court documents, verified settlement amounts, the financial truth they tried to hide. Next investigation, a chemical plant that caught fire 4 times in 20 years, and the 90,000 residents who paid the price. Subscribe so you don't miss it. Collapse report, we audit disasters.